Wouldn't it be a good way to start off your Wisconsin campaign by saying that wives should be off limits and that you apologize for mocking her looks?
Well, by the way, I think it's true, but what they did is, and Ted Cruz knew totally about it. He says he didn't know about it. He totally knew about it.
It was not Ted Cruz or his campaign. So is your standard is that
No, I'm just telling you, he knew. He knew
okay,
these people
so
did it. I did a retweet, and it was a retweet by somebody else.
Your wife is a beautiful, classy woman. Why can't you say the same about Ted Cruz's wife?
I don't know Ted Cruz's wife. I'm sure she's excellent. I mean, I just don't know her. But, you know, all this was a response to what he did.
When it comes to civility, there have been other candidates who have demonstrated a willingness to go to the gutter, to make personal attacks, to make sleazy attacks. I think the American people are sick of that.
Well, Donald Trump on radio in Wisconsin today. Ted Cruz responding to this back and forth about the candidates' wives and ads regarding them. Meantime, some new polls. Well, this is a RCP average, Real Clear Politics average in Wisconsin, the next contest. And there you see it's pretty tight as of now. The average of recent polls on the Republican side, Donald Trump up 1.7 actually in the average. If you look at the Democratic side on Wisconsin, you see a pretty tight race there as well as Bernie Sanders tries to move forward and continue his win streak. The next contest, again, Wisconsin. Let's bring in our panel. Syndicated columnist George Will, Jason Riley, columnist with the Wall Street Journal, and Ron Fournier, senior political columnist of National Journal. Okay, Jason, the state of the Republican race as we head towards Wisconsin.
Wisconsin is a very big deal, Brett. If Trump does well there, it could mean no contested convention. He could win on the first ballot in Cleveland. It's a state that plays to his strengths, lots of blue-collar voters, not a lot of evangelicals, but the race is tight. The governor there, Scott Walker, of course, was a former Republican candidate, has not endorsed, but he's leaning, he's hinted in interviews, toward Ted Cruz. Also, as we heard in the clip, unlike in other states, Donald Trump doesn't have the talk radio support in Wisconsin that he's enjoyed in other states. So he's in for a fight, and I think that's why he's decided to actually go and campaign. How novel is that in the state? You know,
George, the Trump campaign has now hired somebody to oversee their delegate effort, in part because this tweet over the weekend, Donald Trump saying, just to show you how unfair Republican primary politics can be, I won the state of Louisiana and get less delegates than Cruz. Lawsuit coming. And Louisiana, essentially, what happened was some of the delegates went towards Ted Cruz. They were uncommitted, essentially, and signed on even though he won the state. So now the Trump campaign realizes every delegate, I guess, is going to matter.
Well, Mr. Trump is nothing if not litigious, but what he's going to find out is that the convention has its rules. The judiciary of the United States is not going to intervene in this. And the rule is that after the first ballot, things change. And after the second ballot, even more things change. And you have to plan for those. Mr. Trump, who took last week off, may not be as energetic in pursuing delegates as he ought to be. And it's going to matter particularly in places like Wisconsin, where you have a real fight now, and you have people, you can buy a lot of airtime for $2 million, and the Club for Growth alone is spending $2 million against Trump in that state.
We should point out that tomorrow Governor Scott Walker is going to announce his endorsement. Speculation is it's going to be Ted Cruz. You have Senator Ron Johnson. The people have talked, maybe he's going to endorse Trump. It seems like Wisconsin is political ground zero.
Yeah, I agree with what both of you guys have said. It's even worse than you're saying, though, George, because the rules aren't in place even for the convention. As you know, the rules get put in place once the convention starts. And the fact of the matter, having Donald Trump complaining about having the delegates stolen from him and Cruz playing the rules real hard. Well, here's a guy who has stretched the rules of bankruptcy to take money away from his creditors. Here's a guy who's stretched the rules of eminent domain to take houses away from widows. And now he's going to complain about somebody playing by the rules, but playing the rules as hard as possible to take the delegates away from him. Cruz has done nothing that is illegal or immoral or wrong. He's just outplaying Donald Trump.
But
if Trump
to Trump's point,
if he wants to sue somebody real quick, he should sue his own advisors who are political malpractice letting this happen.
To Trump's point, if he does have the plurality going into the convention, isn't that going to cause quite something if the convention comes out with a different...
Sure. Oh, yeah, it causes all kinds of problems. But you know what? That's the rules of the game. The rules aren't... if the rule was that if you get a plurality then he would have grounds to say it was stolen. But that's not the rule. The rule is you have to get a majority, and if not, you got to fight it out in the convention. So, you know, put on your big boy pants and play the game.
What were you going to say, Joe?
As Lincoln did in 1860,
exactly.
The Chicago Convention. Seward from New York had a large plurality before Lincoln got to work, and Lincoln wound up with a nomination. Aren't we glad?
How many ballots did that go?
Don't remember, but a bunch.
Yeah.
Glad you don't remember, because if you did, I would have been doubly impressed with your history. Bernie Sanders, after a few wins over the weekend, here's what he said today.
We've won the last 5 out of 6 contests, all of them in landslide victories. What we have said from day one is the South is the most conservative part of America. We did not do well there. Secretary Clinton gained a lot of delegates. No debate about that. We're out of the South. We're heading to the West Coast, which is the most progressive part of America. We think we're going to do very well there. I think the momentum is with us. A lot of these superdelegates may rethink their position with Secretary Clinton. A lot have not yet declared.
Well, at least one superdelegate did. As you take a look at the delegate count on the Democrat side, you have delegates 1, superdelegates, and there you see the totals. Jason, is this, you know, a fool's errand, or is this, what is this?
Yeah, she's got that, Hillary Clinton has that superdelegate buffer. It's quite large. These are the people who at the convention can vote for whomever they want, regardless of the outcome of the primaries and the caucus states. I think Bernie Sanders deserves more credit than he's getting from liberal elites, in particular, more respect than he's getting. As he said, he's done quite well, particularly in caucus states. His problem is that he's running out of caucus states and that he trails badly in these delegate-heavy big states coming up, New York, Pennsylvania, California, and so forth. So the math is not on his side, but he has exposed some weaknesses in Hillary Clinton.
But for a front-runner to take those losses is pretty stunning if you look at the wins over the weekend.
It is, and we both know what's happening here. Even without the superdelegates, the math cuts dramatically against Bernie Sanders. He can't overtake her in the delegate count. Mathematically, he can't. What's out there is the FBI primary, and that's why he's in the race, is in case the FBI comes down on Hillary Clinton.
I mean, whatever the number is, there are dozens of FBI agents on this case, and it seems like that raised eyebrows today. The Washington Post story, the LA Times over the weekend, and others.
140 some. I mean, according to Washington Post FBI agents. But if the Republican primary scramble wasn't so lurid and entertaining, the story in American politics today would be the divisiveness in the Democratic Party. He beat her by 40 points in Hawaii, 46 points in Washington, 64 points in Alaska. This is a staggering, limping front runner.
Yeah. And in head-to-head matchups, Bernie Sanders beats both Ted Cruz and Donald Trump. You know, he started this campaign really as a protest candidate. I don't think he was in it to win. He may wish that he had been in it to win from the start, given how things have turned out.
Let's connect the 2 races. This is a populist revolt, upset voters on both ends of the spectrum who are not happy with the establishment.